Hello everyone, my name is Cătălin Costea and I'm a member of WindRiver Technology Office. This session is an introduction for an embedded engineer interested in learning about WindRiver Automation Framework and using it for orchestrating VxWorks devices and combining it with real-time application development. As 2020, 66% of the enterprises are using cloud-native methodologies for new application development. What is WindRiver Automation Framework? Basically, it's a single pane of glass to manage and automate application development in a large-scale distributed environment. You can create blueprints, you can define sites, you can create deployments and workflows for your applications. About VxWorks and DevCode. VxWorks is one of the leading real-time operating systems in the world. DevCode is Visual Studio Code with WindRiver Studio extension and VxWorks SDK. For this demo, I will use the WindRiver Automation Framework. I already have developed a blueprint from which I will create a deployment that will handle binaries that are built with DevCode. So the binary will be pushed to this deployment, and the deployment will also push forward to the VxWorks target, the binary, and it will automatically execute the binary on the target. It will be like an update mechanism. For the VxWorks target, I have here the VxWorks running in QEMU with x64 architecture, and for the ARM, I have a Rasberry Pi 4 that is running VxWorks 64, also 64-bit. Okay, now for the demo. In this demo, I will use WindRiver Automation Framework to create a deployment that will handle updates to VxWorks target. So I have here the WindRiver Automation Framework that has the list of blueprints. I already created a blueprint for this, but it was done in the composer. So I have the YAML file here, and there is a server that will listen to the connection and for the files that I want to push to targets. And there is an install Python and uninstall Python for this deployment. So if I go here and just upload this blueprint, it will be uploaded to the automation framework. So it will appear here. If I refresh, okay, so I have the blueprint here. And from this blueprint, I can create a deployment. So let's call it Automation Framework Update Server. I will choose a site name, Ottawa, for example. It has a port that will listen to, and I'll just deploy and execute this. It will take a couple of seconds to execute this, and seems like it's completed. Okay. So for the next steps, I will use the terminal. I have two targets. On the top, there is a VxWorks target that it's running on Raspberry Pi 4, and on the bottom there is a QEMU target that is running on this machine. It will start immediately. So I will switch here to the command terminal. I will change directory to USR, and also do similar to the bottom. command change directory. Here I will change it to another device, BD0A. Okay, so I will start the client on both of these terminals. Okay, Raspberry Pi and QEMU. Cool. Okay, so now I will use Visual Studio Code, and you can find more information about VxWorks SDK on WindRiver Labs. So if you go here on this page, VxWorks Software Development Kit is what you are interested in, and you can go to the download section. And for this demo, I'm using the VxWorks SDK for QEMU, and also VxWorks SDK for Raspberry Pi 4. This version and this version. And also on Visual Studio Code, you can go on the marketplace and install this extension that knows how to use those SDKs. I already have installed this extension in the Visual Studio Code, and I will show you. Okay, so this is the WindRiver Studio extension that has the QEMU SDK and the Raspberry Pi 4 SDK already installed and configured. So if I go here, I have a workspace for the QEMU version. So I just create a new WindRiver application project, choose the QEMU SDK, and I'll do a makefile RTP, real-time process. Okay, so I have here C file that it prints hello world. I will modify this a little and to add a timestamp, also to print a timestamp. Okay, I will build this application. You see here, and this is for the AMD64. Okay, so I already have a task here defined that will push this file to the server. And if we go to terminal run task, the menu, just choose this use WindRiver conductor to deploy to the target. So I'll choose this, it will upload, and you'll see here hello world and the timestamp. So this is the QEMU target. Okay, so back to the Visual Studio Code. I will switch workspace to a Raspberry Pi 4 workspace, and I will do something similar here. I will create a new WindRiver application. I will select Raspberry Pi 4 SDK, also on makefile RTP. I will open this and also add a timestamp to this. Okay, let's add it before, just to make it different. And I will build this application. Okay, so now I will run the task to use WindRiver automation framework to deploy to the target. It will push this RTP file that you see, it's arch64, and you see the timestamp and then the hello world. It's reverse. Okay, I hope what you've seen today has piqued your interest and convinced you to go ahead and try the WindRiver automation framework. The dev code, the WindRiver Studio extension that we have developed, and VxWorks SDK from the WindRiver Labs page. I have shown the automation framework that is able to orchestrate not only cloud, but also embedded devices, right? We can create this update server that will push stuff to VxWorks target. And okay, this technology links very well to WindRiver Studio Developer Edition and to the SDK generator that we have. And also it can be easily linked to WindRiver Analytics platform.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Kathleen, for an excellent presentation on how to set up automation frameworks for VxWorks deployments. And Kathleen, we do have a few questions here that are queued up. So let's jump right into it. One of the first questions is, does the automation framework interface with any Kubernetes resource?
Yes, this automation framework can interface with the Kubernetes API, and you can provision Kubernetes as a resource. Or any Kubernetes resource, you can create pods and you can create clusters and stuff like that.
Fantastic. And for the automation framework, is this available as a container?
Yes, this automation framework, you can have it as a Docker container, and you can run it in your Docker on a machine that has installed already Docker.
The next question here says, what is the main benefit value of leveraging an automation framework for VxWorks?
Okay, so I would say like managing hardware and software can consume time, right, and money, and you can really manage updates for the VxWorks target or any target you have, or any. You can also manage containers. You can also manage VMs with this automation framework, and you can create your blueprints that will handle all this automation. So you can do it all in the same system, with the same tasks.
Fantastic. Here's an interesting one. It says here, can my intelligent device, once it's converted to a Kubernetes cluster, be managed directly or managed as an entity within a cloud structure?
Yes, as I said before, it can manage Kubernetes and Docker. It has plugins for both of these two systems, Kubernetes and Docker. So yeah, it can manage instances for these two.
Thanks, Kathleen. It looks like we got a few more questions that came through here. The next question says, how do you verify or know that you are able to scale to 100 or 100 of thousands of objects and devices?
Okay, so when you create the blueprint, you'll specify for the IP addresses that the devices have. So you'll push that script or automation or binaries what you want to push to those entities, let's say. Make sense?
Yep, it absolutely does to me. And then one of the basic questions is, are there any desktop technical requirements needed to run the automation frameworks?
Not really. Yeah, if your server runs Docker, it can definitely run the automation framework. So the hardware requirements may increase, depending on the number of blueprints, deployments, and users that are using this system. But basically, yeah, every machine that can run Docker can run this automation framework.
Fantastic. And then the next question here is, does WindRiver offer the automation framework as a trial or evaluation?
Okay, I think so. The automation framework is, from what I know, is currently part of the offering of the WindRiver Studio. But to be more sure, I will suggest you contact our sales team to get an official answer for this.
Excellent. And here's another one that just came through. It says, is there extensibility available with the automation framework to add additional functionality to VxWorks?
It depends on the functionality you want to add. Like we are currently in progress of developing a plugin for the target framework. So you just you'll manage tasks from the automation framework, and it will connect directly with the VxWorks target. So you'll do that from the UI. So and the connection will be done through a plugin. And yeah, so basically it depends what you want to accomplish here.
Okay.
Like you can push the data, you can get data, you can get system status, system information about the targets. This is possible, yes.
All right. And a follow-up to that is, does the automation framework support rollback deployment where you can uninstall or abort an error?
Yes. If you, for example, if you create a deployment and you encounter an error, yeah, you can roll back that deployment and it will reverse the steps, but you need to define the rollback. But yeah, as an option, it's supported.
Fantastic. And does the automation framework allow orchestration across multi-cloud infrastructure providers?
Yes. In this demo, I only show for the managing the VxWorks target, but it can be used very well to orchestrate, as I said before, Docker and Kubernetes, and also it links very well with Starlink X and vCloud and AWS and Azure. It has plugins and connectors for all these third-party systems.
Fantastic. And then the last one that's in this queue, and I just want to remind those online, if you have additional questions, I definitely use the Q&A tool. But the last one that's listed here is, is automation frameworks applicable for all industry verticals?
I would say yes, but mainly depends on what you want to accomplish. But this moment, I don't see any restriction of for this technology. So yeah, it can be used in any application space.
Okay, you can also email Kathleen directly if there's any additional questions or thoughts or things you would like to work through. So with that, I would like to thank you for your participation and your attention for today's WindRiver webinar.
Okay, thank you all.